My family was fairly typical American family with a job and living in suburbia, and I had a desire to do more. So in my backyard I planted a fruit tree, I experimented with a garden, and also a small aquaponics system. And that aquaponics system is kind of the launch of my YouTube channel, because I recorded it just for fun, didn't have any idea why, but I recorded showing my aquaponics system, and then I put it on YouTube, and it was the video that people actually watched, and that got me excited to be a YouTube creator. And then we decided to move out of the neighborhood so we can do more things on the land. My son, who's special needs, loves nature, so that was one of the reasons we wanted to get out and get him closer to nature. And so I started a garden, a fruit orchard. The fruit orchard is kind of what got me into beekeeping, because I wanted pollinators for my fruit trees. Well, like I mentioned earlier in the earlier show, the keeping bees alive in Texas was a lot easier than keeping fruit trees alive. So my orchard has really suffered, but my love for beekeeping, actually what was just a utilitarian view of beekeeping, has turned into a love of beekeeping. I really do love keeping the bees, and they teach me a lot. I am not a master anything, I just do it, and I love sharing it. So that's what brings me here. I have a video on YouTube that has almost 4 million views, maybe over, that shows me extracting honey. It's a crazy thing that people want to watch that, but they do. And so I wanted to bring that to the show so people can see it in person. So that's how I got to where I am today. So the better part of that story is actually seeing the honey. So I'm going to pull some frames out. By the way, all of the honey that I extract today will be bottled up and available for sale here today as well. So we're going.
These bees flying around, or are they wild ones here that just are attracted to?
Yeah, and there's going to be more and more.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Especially as it gets warmer.
Yeah, as it warms up and as the news gets back to the hive that there is free honey out here, yeah, they're gonna be coming around. So I want to show some of the tools that we use for taking the caps off. This took the internet by storm last year, and I just had to buy one. It's my least favorite way to uncap honey, but yeah, it looked good on the internet. And then the uncapping fork, it's a pretty nice method. There is the knife method, which I generally use. I'm not going to use, the knife that I typically use is a bread knife, a serrated bread knife. It works really nice. This one is an actual uncapping knife. I thought I would bring it for show and tell, but obviously it's not cleaned up, so I'm not going to use it on the honey. If I were using a knife, it's very efficient. Isn't it really nice? They put a screw in there so I can stick that on there. Really efficient when the honey caps are above the edge of the frame. Then I can just run it down just like I do in the video. You guys can go add a few views to that video and see that. And then it just falls off into the box. Since I'm not using a knife, we'll use one of these other methods. I'll show you this one. It works, but it tends to tear up the comb, and a lot of times I like to try to save comb so I can give it back to the bees. But this is, if you're careful, you can keep it on the top and just cut those cappings off.
It's doing pretty good this time.
Yeah.
It's pretty even.
You have to really focus on it, because the tendency is to just dig in there. That was probably my wife. Yep, I'm sure it is. So this is just one method for getting those wax caps off so that we can spin this honey out. That did okay. You can see a lot of pollen deposits down in there, all those yellow bottoms. The fork is it's not as efficient as far as time goes, but I can get the wax caps off with damaging the cells less, because I can control just getting those caps. And if I throw honey or wax on you, my apologies. So that's how the fork works. There is also, I'll show you another tool, another method that I'm not real fond of, but I just had to have it, mostly because other beekeepers said I just had to have it. And that is this guy right here. We're gonna kick the wasp off. Kick him off or tick him off, one or the other. All right. And then this one just kind of perforates. Again, I don't really like how it kind of tears the comb up, but it is a fairly efficient, as far as time goes, way of getting getting it open for extraction. And then we'll drop it in our extractor here. And I am putting it with the top of the frame to the right because I'm going to turn it this direction, and that will throw it out of, if you notice, well, you can't really notice, but so the honeycomb tends to be at an angle, and I think the bees do that on purpose because it helps keep the honey down in there. So when you turn it this way and you spin it like this, that centrifugal force throws it out. Otherwise, if you do it the other way, you're fighting the angle of the comb. Okay, let's turn this around. You want to try to turn it? Let me get another frame in there. Some bees perish and they stay. That is a petrified bee. There's a few more. They don't make it out when I'm trying to get all the bees out. Some of them stay behind. At this point, I'm trying to find the quickest method.
When did you pull these frames? How long have they been?
So I kept these in the refrigerator, most of them since the spring, because I told Justin from the Good of the Land that I was going to, he asked me to just show up and be a part of it. But he said, if you have anything to show, that would be nice. And generally speaking, I don't like crowds. Sorry guys, I just tend not to like crowds. So I was a little nervous about doing that, but I called him back and I said, all right, Justin, I'll bring my honey extractor. There's a local bee right there, free meal. I said, I'll bring my honey extractor and I'll just show people how I extract honey. He was really excited about that. But then I started getting nervous that, what if I don't have enough honey? Then I just committed to this. So all the honey that I had taken out for my own extraction purposes, I put a bunch of it in the refrigerator just in case, and it's a good thing I did, because I ended up not getting much more honey after that. This was a tough year for honey. For me anyway, it was. Because, it shut off so fast. So when you have a lot of rain, you would think that's good. But if you have a lot of rain and then a lot of dry real fast after that, it's not good, because all that rain washes out the nectar and pollen, and then you get dry, so there's not enough flowers coming on after that to take care of, filling in. So this was just a really tough year. All right, we have 2 frames here. So easy, a Texas boy can do it.
You want to do any tasting before you do that?
Oh, did anyone want to taste? Anyone want to stick their fingers in there?
Kinda.
Yeah, do it. Do it. Anybody else?
Just stick your finger in.
Yeah, you're not hurting anything. Get in there.
You can actually feel that hurt. Just stick your finger.
So honey is antibacterial, antifungal, anti-everything else. And so don't fear if somebody has slightly dirty fingers. It's okay, because it's not hurting anything. All right, so just to keep you from getting covered in honey, I'm going to cover that up.
So does crank it faster?
Not too fast, just
Like that?
good and steady. Yep. So that's going to throw all that honey against the wall. And you can go a little faster. There you go, perfect. And anyone that wants to come up and look at this, you can see it like cotton candy spraying against the sides of the wall. And that's going to accumulate on the sides and fall down to the bottom into this bottom tank. That's not too hard, is it?
You got some good helper there.
Yeah. So go ahead and put the brakes on.
Twice a year now.
That's right. Put the brakes on. There you go. So let's see. We have, I can tell, just a little bit more to spin out, but you did a good job. That's nice. You can see all the the yellow patties in there. That's pollen or bee bread. Bees make what they call bee bread out of pollen, fermented pollen, and that's what they use for food. But a lot of times they'll pack their honey on it as well, just when they run out of space. Let's give it another spin, then we'll turn them over. All right, we're gonna turn them over and spin the other side.
Nice.
Brakes. Hit the brakes, kid. All right. Now we just take these. Looks like we got most of it out. Then we just turn it over. And turn this one over, and that way we can spin the other side. A larger operation obviously would like to, they use a radial design where the frames go in this way and then they spin both sides out at one time. But because I don't have that kind of money, we'll use a small, I can't remember what the style is called, but it's, you have to do one side at a time. Keep going, keep
Getting
going.
tired now.
I can still see it coming out. You got a little more to go. And while we're extracting, I'll be happy to answer questions too, if you have any.
Have you ever been stung?
Have I ever been stung? Yes, on a fairly regular basis. Although I get better, at learning to interact with the bees with fewer stings. A lot of times though, the stings are in the form of on my fingers when I'm not paying attention, and they get me. I do wear the, do I have a sample? 8 or 9 mil nitrile gloves, and that does a pretty good job of keeping the stingers off of me. All right, good. I was just gonna let you go until you got tired.
His tongue's still in his head. He ain't tired yet.
His just had a little motor on it.
It's dry.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. There's a lot of pollen in here. I'll just give this back to the bees, and they'll put that back to work in their hives. I'm gonna put this one back
It's
down.
amazing how well the bees clean up when you're done with the latest.
Oh man, yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. If I take these out to the bee yard and just leave them out, I have a table in my bee yard, and I'll just put frames up on the table. They'll clean it out. Then I'll put it in the freezer for a few days just to be sure that there's no wax moths or beetles living in there. And then when I'm ready, I can put that back as clean comb so that the bees have something nice and clean to start their business in, their new honey or brood. These are honey frames. They're smaller than the brood frames.
What do you do with the wax?
I save it and make, like you can see the molds. I made some beeswax molds up there. Little Bear, she's holding them up. Miss Stacy's holding them up. Or my YouTube logo I made for fun. We also have experimented with candles. I don't do a lot of that, but also putting it in lotions and stuff. I don't know who asked the question. I don't know who I'm looking at. But yeah, so you can use it as an ingredient in your natural beauty products, skincare products. Or, hey Miss Stacy, can you hold up the one that looks like the shape of a toilet paper roll? No, it's a solid.
Oh, this one.
Yeah.
This one.
Yeah, so that actually was poured into a toilet paper roll as a mold, and I use that one for beekeeping. I will use that kind of like a crayon and color the plastic foundation with it, and that way the bees are a little more attracted to that plastic foundation and want to get to work faster.
Do the summers down here cause problems? The heat?
It's not really a problem, but definitely go through a period of less production. I mean, basically the bees just they have to just stay alive through that period.
I didn't know if you could do any special cool things like that.
Oh no. A lot of beekeepers will feed their bees in that time period. I don't, because I like to introduce the least amount of unnatural bee product into their hive, and they do fine for the most part. But a lot of beekeepers do, and I'm not saying it's wrong, but they do put sugar water in their hive in that time to help them get through that period.
Have you ever captured a wild hive?
I have. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. That's a big, thick one. That's one that I would love to just run a knife down and let that fall off, because it's fun to watch. What'd you say?
I said, I bet that's real satisfying.
You see on my banner the word satisfying? So the funny thing about that, the word satisfying, is that I never would have thought to use that word to explain any of this. But when I made that video that now has nearly 4 million views, and lots of people in the comments say, "Oh, that's so satisfying," I actually went to my kids and I said, what are they talking about? What is satisfying about that? And my kids are like, "Come on, Dad, you know, when you get that tingly feeling because something is, you know, either visually or audibly whatever, you know," and like, okay, I really don't get it, but I'm glad people like my video. I still don't really, I mean, I do, because now that I understand, it's just there's a sensation with seeing or hearing this, which, by the way, if you get up close, you can hear it. It makes that crackly, sticky. It is fun. And I guess my description, fun, is what they're saying is satisfying.
That's like watching somebody pour concrete. It's pretty satisfying.
Yeah, when it's not you having to do it. I love watching other people work.
I know, right?
Are you a concrete guy?
Yeah. I build Barndominiums, so concrete's
Nice.
part of it.
Nice. You do YouTube too? I've seen you on YouTube.
Yeah.
I thought you looked familiar. It's not my normal videos I watch, but I was looking to figure out how to pour some concrete at one point for a barn.
Did you
Or
find the
shed,
one that
really.
we do it for $1 square foot?
$1 square foot. Leave the grass underneath it.
Exactly, that was it.
Yep, that's it. By the way, it's not real.
I know that. I watched the whole video. And by the end of it, I was like, man, all of this sounds wrong. And then I was like, oh yeah, it's wrong.
April Fools.
Yep, exactly. That was a great video, though. I watched the whole thing. I was totally involved. And when you said leave the grass under it, that was my first clue that this is weird, but maybe he's right. Like, that's just, it makes some sense, sort of, right?
It's on YouTube.
Yeah, right.
Right? It has to be real. Yeah.
It's on the internet, it's gotta be right.
It's got to be right. I find it very interesting as a YouTube creator how much, I don't know, how much people invest in telling me how wrong I am. Like, you know what? Why don't you just go make your own videos? It's all right. Or just come back and tell me how wrong I am over and over and over again. I'm okay with that
I
too.
usually ask them to link the video where they do it right.
That's right. Sometimes I'm real tempted in the comments to say something like, are you sure? Can you watch that again and just make sure you got your opinion straight? He's turning the extractor to spin the honey out, and once he's done a sufficient job on that side, is it past inspection?
Yeah.
All right. Then we'll spin it over, turn it on the other side. Yeah, right. Yeah, if you put it in the wrong way, a lot of the honey won't come out because of the angle of the comb. Ready? You guys would be amazed at the end of the day how much honey is in the bottom of this. It's really amazing how much honey they hold in these frames.
Just let them feel a full frame versus an empty frame. The weight difference.
Oh yeah, yeah. I should actually do that. That's a good video right there.
Yeah, I had one hive and I harvested two supers off of that one hive. And I've got a 5-gallon bucket full of honey.
Yeah, and that's something.
It's beautiful.
It's so good. If anyone just walked up and didn't get to taste it, you're welcome to come up at any point and watch the bees. Stick your fingers in there and get some of that good stuff.
Does he need to go faster? He needs to go faster, right?
All right. Oh yeah, faster. I forgot we were doing something here.
Yeah.
I
You
can get a
okay?
little piece of hair.
Yeah, just whatever. Just rub your finger in there. And now the wax, you can eat it, but if you're not okay with swallowing it, just ball it up and spit it out. All right, let's see. Put the brakes on.
Oh, good caramel there.
Oh, it's so good. Ooh, good job. Oh, you got that one nice. All right, so those are empty. If you want to taste that pollen, just get your finger in there and just get a chunk of that and chew on it. The pollen tastes really good. And you can, I'm spitting it out. You can swallow that. It's really good for you too. Actually, everything that the bees make is good for you. You may have to dig. Yeah, you may have to dig in deep to get that good stuff from the bottom.
You a fragrance?
That's very good.
This is a weird question, but I read an article on NPR that was talking about how with the sudden interest in honeybee raising,
Yeah.
it was affecting the other bees because there's hundreds of other kinds of bees that then get pushed out of their environment because of all the honeybees everywhere. Do you think that that's accurate?
Pretty much any answer I give you is going to be a guess. I don't really know. I suspect it's not true, but I'm not a scientist, so I can't say for sure.
It just seems like there'd be plenty of food for all of them, you know?
Well, and yeah.
I mean, I guess maybe if you were raising bees in the city, it might be an issue.
There's a lot of times not enough food for all of them. Colonies that don't get enough food don't live, and that's nature's way. So,
I mean, they share, but they
which is
cover
a reason why a lot of beekeepers will feed sugar water to their hives.
several thousand acres.
I let some of my hives sometimes go because they're not going to make it. I don't feed sugar water. I have sometimes, but it's not my normal. I'm just showing you a few different methods of opening these caps.
Do you use the wax for anything?
I do. Sometimes we'll put them in lotions and different skincare products. Hello. We've experimented with candles, but we really talk more about candles than make candles.
I would separate that as well. Looking at how you make the wax here. It sounds like an interesting combination.
That one's not very full. That's gonna make it really unbalanced. This looks like, ooh, man, feel how heavy that one is. You okay? Woo! Anybody else want to feel how heavy that is?
So if you look at the bottom of this box,
That's a lot. Anybody else?
That's what, 30 pounds?
That's a lot of
how many
honey.
things you got? 9 or 10 pounds.
A beefy one.
That is a lot of honey in
If
there.
things are just right, bees will fill that up. And
Anybody else? Before I spin it?
And they'll fill up the whole box.
Okay.
10 of those, just a couple, 2-3 weeks sometimes. Conditions are just right.
The bees are showing up.
Just when the nectar flow, is really in full swing.
This is a very quick way to get the caps off, but it also does destroy the comb for the most part underneath. So it's hard to give it back to the bees using this tool. But sometimes you just do what you got to do for efficiency. And not all of the combs that I extract from go back to the bees. Sometimes I totally scrape it out for the wax.
And that'll help separate out honey and wax. So you render it a couple of times. Each time you get more.
Where are you from?
Purify the wax more and more.
I'm near San Antonio.
Oh, okay.
Ready? Oh, that's a deep frame. This is going to be That's a lot of honey right
You
there.
grunted to get that one up.
Yeah.
Can you leave the lid off for a little bit?
Oh, sure. We can spin it with the lid off. Here.
Just stay on this side of it, because it slings that way. How many hives do you have, and what type of hives do you have?
Good questions. Thank you, Mr. Santa Claus.
Here we go.
So I have right now 4 active Langstroth hives, the vertical hives, which are these boxes down here. You see how it's wobbling? That's because one frame is bigger and heavier than the other. And then I also have 2 of these. One of them is active, and this one obviously is here on display.
That's one of the 2.
It's one of the 2, yeah. So I had a colony in here earlier this year, but I transferred it to, the colony wasn't strong enough. So as soon as I transferred them from their box that was in one of these, they left.
That's a nice height too. It's kind of like 36 inches, like a kitchen cabinet sort of.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Now a lot of bees are showing up. And now that this is happening, a lot more bees will keep coming. So if you have a fear of bees.
Yeah, they go home and say, hey.
Exactly. They do their little dance. Yep.
They do the dance. Right turn, left turn, over the tree, behind
Isn't that
the barn.
funny? I think I would love to know that language.
So what do
We
they
have to
do?
do a video on that.
What do they do?
The bees will go back to their hive and do a little dance to communicate to the other bees where this free meal is coming from, and then they all show up. We'll have hundreds or thousands of bees out here pretty soon.
Is there an angle to the sun? Because they do like a circle and then they do a diagonal within the circle.
Are you asking or telling?
No, I'm asking. I thought that's
I was hoping you were telling.
that's what
Okay,
they used to
let's see.
tell us. That it's an angle to the sun somehow that they communicate to the other bees.
That's a great theory. I have no idea if it's true. That one's still a little wet, but let's go ahead and get this other side. People will be screaming. There's so many bees. All right, let's go ahead and put these back on. Are you done recording in there?
Oh, it smells so
Dude,
good.
I'm pretty excited because now I'm going to go back and tell people the guy that made this video was recording mine.
Yeah.
All right. This is like those old weight loss machines.
The belt.
Yeah, the belt, the shakers, whatever they were called.
Keep your voice figured.
So you pretty much do this yourself, or family help you, or
It's
friends?
mostly me.
friends?
It's mostly me. Yeah. My wife loves that I like to do things, but she doesn't like to do things with me generally. She does her thing, I do my thing. And my kids, most of them are grown and gone, so they.
She does Sudoku when you're doing this.
She does what?
Sudoku?
Yeah, maybe. She's a very, very busy woman. She takes care of. We have a special needs son, and she does a lot of work taking care of my son. I would never like to accuse her, especially on camera, that she doesn't do anything. No, she does so much around the house. I do a lot of the fun hobby stuff. She takes care of the house. She's the one that keeps us operating. All right, let's see what we got.
Do you do hives for egg extension?
I do. Yeah, we have.
People around here actually that do that put them on the ranch just to keep the eggs.
Yeah. So okay, who felt how heavy this was before?
Me. Oh wow. Big difference? Big difference, yeah. Oh, I got too much stuff in my hand. Oh.
That's a lot of honey. Anybody else?
Honey's heavier by volume than water.
Yes, it is. Is that it? Okay.
Good job.
Anybody want to lick?
All right.
So now that you've done this to these, what do you call these?
These are honey frames.
Honey frames? So then what happens to them? What do you do with them next?
Well, I'll take these home and I'll put them out in the bee yard. The bees, just like these bees are happy to do, the bees will clean out the resources that they can take back to the hive.
Okay.
And then I'll put the frames after they've been cleaned out in the freezer, just to make sure. I just got that on my glasses.
I saw that.
Just to make sure that there's no wax moths or hive beetles that got into that to make their eggs. The freezer, 3 days in the freezer will take care of all that. And then after that, I can put them in storage in these totes and then be ready to put them back in the hive so that the bees can build back up on top of those.
Excellent.
All right, we're gonna cover this. We're done extracting. That was all of my honey frames. I'm gonna transfer these into this box and put a lid on it so that hopefully we can reduce the amount of surface area for these bees.
So those wet plastics, those are running for storage?
See, this one right here is designed for uncapping because it has the hole in the bottom and it goes into exactly. And then they're also made for storing and transporting honey frames. Yes.
Monotask, multiple tasks.
Yes. And the small family-owned business in Indiana that makes these really great people. It's called Hive Butler, and I'm maybe expressing that a little more because they gave me these boxes for free so I can show them. So if you want to contact Hive Butler and tell them thank you, that would be really cool. Because I honestly was not sure how I was going to transport frames to this show, and my buddy Doug from Off Grid with Doug and Stacy, some of you might have heard of them, he called me and said, I have a solution for you. He had gotten in contact with Hive Butler, started forming a relationship with them, and then Hive Butler contacted me and asked me what I needed, and I told them precisely what I needed for this show, and that's what they sent me. So if you have any beekeeping box needs, check out Hive Butler because it is a really nice solution.
Yeah, it's a nice
I don't want to turn this into a Hive Butler commercial, but
wait, there's more.
exactly. It is. My hands are sticky. It is impressive. The lids come off real easy.
We'll make it full to see if you can take the lids off.
There you go.
Exactly. So they are food safe. So any of that honey I wanted to get out of here and lick, I could do that. But it's designed for 10 frames. Really nice design for plenty of room because they are spaced out a little more than a normal hive box. And with the handles on both sides and the lid that goes on tight. For storing or transporting honey, if I were to do this without a Hive Butler, what I would have done is I would have wrapped a box like this. I would have put a trash bag in there and rolled over the edges, and I would have put my frames in that trash bag, which works, but they still get banged up and moved around, and I would have a trash bag full of honey.
All right.
So with this, I get very little drippage. Well, you saw that little tiny bit of honey in the bottom of this. That's how much fell out in traveling.
How many frames are in your hot box?
That's a 10 frame box.
So it works out perfect.
Yeah. This one's made a little bigger because they spread out a little more, which is nice when the honey frames are fat.
They don't always feel the wax inside that little area.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. When the hive is managed better, like sometimes I don't always manage correctly, they tend to build a little closer, but if you give them too much room, they will take that room. So pretty soon, I'll be taking the honey out of here. I'm gonna run it through, I have a box, a honey bucket over there, and I'm gonna run it through another filter just to make sure that there's not wax or bee legs or wings in there. And then I'll be bottling it up, and that will be available for sale probably in another couple hours.
Back, I have a question. Back to the bees, when you first get your bees,
Yeah.
do you buy them, I assume, then you split them, and then you said you caught a wild hive?
I did, yeah. I've caught a wild swarm twice now, maybe 3 times. I can't remember. But so that's actually, a lot of people are moving toward that as a bee, a way to get your bees, because generally speaking, those are going to be your local bees that are already well adapted to your climate. And if you buy bees, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but they're probably born and raised in a different state. And maybe they're, there's just a lot of ways that a local bee is more adapted to where you are than bees that you would purchase from other places. Same thing with queens. People buy queens from all over the place, and the genetics in that queen come, and then they have to spend several seasons readapting to the climate that they're forced to move to. Anything else? I started beekeeping in 2012. And that was, I don't know if you missed the first part, that was in a direct response to me planting a fruit orchard, and I wanted pollinators. And so I almost gave up fruit orchard because it's hard to grow fruit trees in Texas, and kept with the bees. So I've had as many as 7 hives. I'm only on 5 acres, so I can't have hundreds of hives. It's just probably not enough food in my area. I'm sorry?
Do you rent out your hives?
I don't. Nope, it's just my small personal hobby. And then I try to have enough honey for myself and a little bit for the local population. I sell it, but last year I ran into a problem because I sold so much. I got a little money greedy, and then I ended up buying honey because I ran out. So this year I stored all the honey for myself first, and so I think I have 4 gallons, maybe a little more, in my own pantry for me. And then, well, not just for me, my wife and kids like it too. But and then I sell a little bit beyond that. So
you can go crazy with your consumables too. Have a stockpile of empty bottles.
Yep. So those bees coming in for all that honey. So
So do you sell at the farmers markets there in town? Or?
no, I participate in local Facebook groups. Okay. So if ever I say I have honey available, I'm sold out in hours.
Okay.
Yeah. The first year that I did it, I tried with a little broader advertisement, but the reality is I don't get that much. I might get maybe 4 or 5 gallons at a time, and if I bottle that up, I might end up with, what's that? 4, 16. You're watching this, public math hurts, but anyway, I don't end up with that much. But a 1 pound jar is what I have today. A 1 pound jar is roughly 11 to 12 fluid ounces. So you can do your own math on how many jars that ends up being. It sells out pretty quickly.
That's great.
Yeah. If I had a large operation, like some people manage hundreds of hives, and I think that's fantastic. I just don't have time for that too, because I still have a full-time job. Anything else? All right, I'm gonna get my hands cleaned up and let this drip down, and probably in an hour or 2 I'll be putting it in bottles. Anyone that wants to lick, not my hands, you can't lick my hands, but you can come in here and get a little bit of honey off the side or whatever, and just see what that tastes like.
Okay, now I see where you're sticking them in there. I was wondering.
Yeah.
Hey, look at that.
If I keep it all closed up, there'll be a little less available for the bees. Did one stay? Oh, did I squish her?
Sorry. Yeah, you got one in there. Oh wow.
Sorry. I can't always see them. I actually put the jacket on earlier to because I was cold, and I figured it would also keep the honey off my shirt. I'm a sticky mess.